You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, your guy, Pat Lane, here with my man, Matt St. Jean. And Matt, the NFL Combine is officially up and running, and that means there's all sorts of NFL news flying around. All the media people kind of converge in one place, and this time all the teams are there as well. So a whole bunch of things going on. So a lot to talk about this week for us. It's been it's always fun seeing the guys in the, they're in, underwear basically running out there, but so what? It's so cool watching them, practice and everything else.
And almost more importantly, we got rumor season. We got things happening for the first time, which, by the way, I don't know if I literally just saw this as we went live. Trey Smith officially just got tagged.
Look at that. There you go.
The Chiefs, which it happens to, I think it's like the non-exclusive tag or whatever. Like, is it the transition tag?
Yeah, which, by the way, Adam Schefter said on Part of My Take today, I guess, I think it came out today, that this might be the least amount of people tagged ever. And so you already got two guys tagged, and he said, there may not even be another guy. So, on that respect, a guy like Byron Murphy, or, if you're high on that guy or other guys, looks like everyone's going to be available. Everyone else, assuming they don't sign long-term contracts between now and March 10th.
Yeah, which is, probably just like it's a weird free agent class this year. All around, the last 2 years have been kind of weird.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cap space, so you actually have the money to extend people. You don't even have to worry about the tag.
Right. And that's really what it comes down to, is that, with so much money, it's just like, do we care about, tagging someone? It's almost like, I feel like some teams do it almost as like a threatening, like if you won't make a deal with us, we'll just franchise tag you. But teams don't really have to do that anymore because they could just pay for their own guys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, all right. So one other thing that came out this week, though, was the NFLPA grades. And last year, the Patriots were a train wreck last year. It was real bad. The treatment of families was awful. I think the coach was decently bad. The owner wasn't great. It was an all-out disaster last year. This year, not much better. Still a few Fs in there, which isn't great. Not what you're looking for. They gave the owner a D, which I thought was interesting. That was interesting to me. Tells me that they think either the owner's not paying the money he should be paying, or that he's involved in things he shouldn't be involved in, or I'm not really sure why. Because, these don't come with explanations, of course, but it is interesting. I will say the private plane thing was wild to me.
Yeah, I think that's where we start with this.
Having ashtrays in the seats still? What are we talking about, dude? How old are these seats?
Yeah. And so the Patriots ranked, first of all, the Patriots own their own plane. They own two planes.
Yep.
They got an F for team travel, ranked 31st overall, which is, you just can't own your own plane and have that happen. The only team that was worse actually is the Bills, that got an F-. Funny enough, the three worst teams for team travel were the Buffalo Bills, who were one of the top teams in the NFL this year, were in the AFC Championship game, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champion, and the Patriots. These are the teams that got an F or worse, apparently, in the case of the Bills, for their team travel grade. So definitely not a one-to-one relationship here between team success and travel grade. But when you own the planes, I think the standard just needs to be higher.
Absolutely. You can't own the team plane and get an F. You just can't. You can't. And Boss GM mentions that no plane Wi-Fi. And I think, Look, I think Wi-Fi is difficult. I do. I think that Wi-Fi on planes is spotty no matter what you do. Obviously, you would hope that they have good Wi-Fi, but you don't know. I think that airplane Wi-Fi is just spotty no matter where you are. Right? You're
But,
30,000 feet up in the air. Like it's challenging to get Wi-Fi.
but they
That's
have
always been my
none.
experience.
They have no Wi-Fi.
So
They're not trying.
So that's the thing, and I guess if that's the case, then that's outrageous. I thought it was that the Wi-Fi didn't work well. If they have no
There's
Wi-Fi,
no Wi-Fi.
that's ridiculous.
No Wi-Fi available, and it's so the blurb in the section from the NFLPA report card says players want an upgraded team plane. The current plane is too small. There's no Wi-Fi available. There are seats with ashtrays in the armrests. Players specifically responded that, quote, our plane is the worst thing, size, space, safety, and, quote, it is not conducive to preparedness for athletic performance. I'm like, one of the things, listening to what Doug Kyed had to say about this yesterday, he mentioned that he's been hearing horror stories about this plane or planes for a while now, that this has been an ongoing issue, which it's kind of funny that this hasn't been a big deal before this. But yeah, I don't. These are professional athletes who are very large human beings who are often traveling in this plane at odd hours after intense physical workouts. You want them to be comfortable on the plane. You want them to be able to sleep on the plane. You want them to be able to have Wi-Fi so they can contact their family on the plane. Like, I'm sure they would love that, to be able to just watch a show, watch film, whatever, to de-stress after games. You want them to have that stuff. And I don't think team travel grade here is going to have anything to do with getting free agents, but I do think it'll matter for how your guys perform. Doug Kyed said that from what he was aware of, they didn't use the team planes when they went to London this year, and the players were very excited about that and felt much better about the trip overall. And I think
crazy.
And thankfully, I think like this is a very solvable issue. Option one here, you own the planes. You can refit the inside, try to install new things and modernize it. I'm sure that to a degree that's possible. Give players more space, add Wi-Fi, whatever. Option two is do it like the other teams and just charter planes.
Right. Don't even worry about owning your own plane. Or you know what? Buy a new flipping plane. I just think the fact that Travels and weight room they're fixing, right? They're in the middle of fixing, get the huge new facility that they're building that will be ready. I don't know if it'll be ready this year or if it'll be ready next year, but it's going to be ready soon. And so that they're already in the process of taking care of. If the players are complaining about the plane that much, just for the love of God, do something, right? And I don't know if that means buying a new plane. I don't know what that means. I will just say Robert Kraft has unlimited money, unlimited money. I understand that the Patriots stink right now. I get it. I totally understand that. But from an owner's perspective, there's really not a lot of extra money that goes into your pocket when you're winning. There's more, clearly, but there's not that much more. Everyone splits the TV revenue 32 ways. Everyone splits the merchandise revenue 32 ways.
Oh, that's 31. The merchandise is 31 because the Cowboys are out of the deal.
Oh, right. That's right. I'm sorry. So, but the point is, right, is that whether you're winning or not, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares what jersey you buy. Oh, so-and-so, Lamar Jackson's the number one jersey. It doesn't matter because the Patriots get money from every Lamar Jackson jersey that gets sold. So you're making money no matter what. Robert Kraft, every single seat in the Patriots Stadium is a season ticket. And so that means that every single seat is already sold before the game starts. It doesn't matter how many people show up to the game. It doesn't. Now, he owns the concessions and he owns the parking lots, so he wants people to show up to that. But, oh, by the way, he figured that out because he has prepaid parking. So when I pay for my tickets, I'm also paying for my parking. And so he's already getting the money for the parking. Oh, you can't go? You already paid for the parking. You're not getting a refund on that. So he's making all this money already. You have basically unlimited money. Spend it on the freaking team. Put it back, invest it back into the team.
Mhm.
You have a substandard private plane. What are you doing? Like, why would you ever even consider doing that? You want your players to be happy. And to your point, it's not really is it going to impact someone coming here? Not necessarily. But if you show up and you're like, what the hell is this dumpy thing? That's really not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and yeah. And it's what I'll give the Crafts credit here because overall, they were very responsive to
Yep.
last year's survey. And the two big things for last year's survey were weight room, training, all that stuff, practice facilities just not good enough. And families need to have more things.
Right.
And they addressed the family thing immediately that year, and the grade went up. And they have a practice facility, new one being built right now. I don't think it'll be ready for this season. I think that's for next year.
I think so,
Could
yeah.
be wrong. So you're not going to see the grade go up for that for a little bit, but they're making the
But it's
investment.
in progress, yeah.
Yeah, so he's being responsive to this stuff. Team plan's got to be the next one, and I don't care that much. I don't really care where they rank in the league for these things. I care about what the actual grade is. You want them to be C or above for all this stuff. And there's just no reason to have a grade. And there's no reason to have players that unhappy with your arrangements. And with that, I think there were complaints. Last year, there were complaints about their travel schedules. That's not in the report this year. It doesn't specifically say that team travel that what do you call it, that the schedule is part of that this year, but I think Doug Hyde said it might still be a factor. So I think this is something that it's easy, simple, not that expensive in the grand scheme of things to fix for this season.
Correct.
And a little disappointing to see them this low when they bought the planes. It definitely makes it feel like those planes are a marketing thing and not anything more than that, right?
Absolutely. Sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure does. So,
Yeah.
by the way, my dad would like everyone to know that he is the one that pays for the parking and not me. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Overall, other grades that were notable. Gerard Mayo got a B+, which I'm not surprised by. I think basically all of the coaches. There's one coach here. Let's see. One got a C, two that got a C, three that got C's.
Yeah, I think
Everyone else is a
that
B or
was
above.
basically a C was an F, essentially, right? And the
Which is-
C's were Chicago, who was an
Mhm.
absolute dumpster fire and got fired. Jacksonville, who was an absolute dumpster fire and got fired. And Cleveland, who was an absolute dumpster fire and did not get fired.
Well, that's one year after being NFL Coach of the Year, right? With
Yeah.
Stefanski.
Right.
That award is like a death knell, it feels like.
It really is, isn't it? It's crazy. And he seems like he's on really, really on the hot seat, And then New Orleans is B-. He got fired, right? So even these low Bs, and I think actually it's the only B-, to be honest with you. So it's you see some of that, and of course B+ for Gerard Mayo. It's he didn't even know what he was doing. So
which the players didn't like. I think the players liked the coach. That doesn't mean he was good at his job.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
one of the things I thought was interesting, Patriots get a D for ownership. That puts them in the bottom 5 of the league. I think it's interesting to look at the teams that are down here. There are 3 that get either a D- or an F. The F, the New York Jets. I think that makes a lot of sense with everything we know about them. The Panthers and the Cardinals both got D-. Those are both owners that are kind of infamously not good at this.
Right.
So again, no surprises there. Pats get a D. The other D, the Pittsburgh Steelers, a franchise that I think has drawn a lot of comparisons to the Patriots lately in terms of Tomlin being a couple years behind where Belichick was with this. You're a Hall of Famer. You're a great coach. Also, do we still want to keep you?
Right.
It feels like an older organization, old-fashioned organization in a lot of ways.
It's fair.
But then you go up just a little bit. D+, Tampa Bay, a team that won a Super Bowl not that long ago. The Chiefs are to C-. They are,
Which is wild.
Yeah, they were. I think they were down here last year too. And then the Bengals have a C. Which the Bengals being a C blows my mind, given how cheap, notoriously cheap that ownership group is. So, I think to a degree, rating your owner here always going to be subjective. It's always going to be partially based on how the players interpret what these grades mean.
True.
It also
Yeah.
seems to be somewhat how modern is the organization type meter. And the Patriots
Yeah.
haven't been modern, but definitely seem to be trending in the right way. So I do think that like the ownership grade, you would see change once they start winning.
Yeah, and I think too, it matters. Like expectations, almost I think matters. Like you look at a team like Cincinnati, where like wasn't it Cincinnati where like they didn't feed, or was it Jacksonville? I think it was Cincinnati where like
They
they
were
didn't
charging players for meals.
like we're charging players for meals. That's like, what are you insane? Like, what are you doing? And so that's the type of stuff where like I feel like the expectations are so low, and so it's like, wow, he's been better than he was, and so that's fine, you know.
Yeah, which
Um,
is again, that's why
so
I wouldn't necessarily take these grades as like gospel because the players are going to change on the teams every year too. So but the players overall might feel the same about one of these things as they did last year, but the actual grade might change because the players are different and they're going to put a different letter to their expectations.
correct, exactly.
And like it's the scale is weird for this stuff. Like the players are pretty much always going to like the coach and not like the owner as a general thing, unless the owner is like, something flashy. Like you
Yeah.
look at the ones that are at the top for ownership, you've got Miami, which is very luxurious city. You've got Atlanta, rich city with a brand new locker room. Minnesota being up there is interesting. Denver's up there. That's a new ownership group.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers being in A makes absolutely no sense to me, to be quite honest with you. That organization, they get there's like almost A's across the board for the Chargers, which is
Crazy, right? I
shocking
mean,
to
what's
me.
interesting for me, Miami almost looks like they just like didn't even fill it out. They were just like, A.
It's like A
That's
pluses
great.
across the board for that too.
It's like, what are we talking about, dude? I mean, it
Well,
can't
like I
be
went
that good, but maybe it is.
well, like the Miami stuff. Like first of all, that's an obscenely wealthy owner there, who's able to provide a lot of amenities. But I also wonder how much of that is we play in a city that every NFL athlete loves to play in,
It's
for a
fair.
coach
Yeah.
players love to play for. So like you're just gonna like give it higher grades.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because you're gonna have a good experience there for things that are outside of anyone's control there. And like Houston's a big city that people like. Like Houston's owner, from everything we've heard for a long time now, is people do not like Houston's owner.
That's correct.
He gets an A here. Mark Davis for the Raiders gets an A here.
Insanity.
Yeah, like
I mean, the
that's
Raiders being fourth overall on this list is lunacy. Just
that means that
lunacy.
it means they're in Vegas and they have a new stadium.
Correct. That's all it means.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the long story short is, take these with a grain of salt, but also we need to pay attention to some of it, right? There are important nuggets in here. Ultimately, you don't have to be in the top 5. It's not the end of the world if you're down a little bit lower in the middle of the pack somewhere. You can't be getting Fs. You just can't. You can't be getting Fs and things. And the Patriots have acted in fixing some of the things that were Fs in the past. We assume that they'll act again and fixing, things that are Fs now as well. So
it is interesting. The training staff got a C+, which was 26th, and they did keep Mayo on, Sherrod's brother, in the staff, though they did make changes there. The guy who was, I'm forgetting his name, but he was the old Titans guy who was coming in now to lead it.
Okay.
And that was someone who, we talked about this in the pod before, he didn't necessarily get great reviews in his last job from a lot of fans. So I'm curious to see what that's going to look like next year.
Well, we'll see. We shall see, right? So,
yeah.
All right. So let's get into, before we, because we are going to get into the 7-round mock draft. I know a lot of you here for that, but we have to just talk about some things that happened around the league today and in the last few days. The Rams have had a huge day. They've signed they've said that they've signed Matthew Stafford and Alaric Jackson. The Stafford one isn't, I don't think the terms of the deal have been finalized yet, but they did tweet something out saying that he's back. So I think he's basically made up his mind that he's coming back. I don't know if they're working on a deal or not, but Stafford is coming back to the Rams. Alaric Jackson signs a 3-year, $57 million deal with $35 million guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So he's off the tackle market. I think this is something that we expect, right? We expected that to happen. We should have at least been expecting that to happen. Trey Smith officially signed his franchise tag today. And so I think that, again, another guy's off the board. And again, we knew that, right? But I think that, seeing some of these guys go where they went and really not being available when we thought they would be available is, if you're a Patriots fan and you were hoping to sign some big name free agents this year, that should be concerning for you. There's a good chance that Ronnie Stanley isn't on the board. There's a good chance that, now Trey Smith is 100% gone. T. Higgins, though it's not official, is almost definitely going to be back to Cincinnati. So, and again, they said that they haven't officially signed into it, but it's going to happen, right? So, like, T. Higgins is off the market. So how many more of those guys that were available on free agency should? And I think that's, or won't be available, I should say. And that for a team that has $100 million to spend is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. And it's, there was the article earlier, was it the Mass Live piece with Karen Gregarian? Is that how you say her name? And Chris Mason talked about how the Patriots were going to go for offensive line, prioritize that in free agency,
right?
And defensive line. And that was something I believe that Chad Graff at The Athletic had also said that this is going to be a priority. And, it's tough. You can only sign the players that are available. That's why drafting is important. You can have as much money as you want when you get to free agency. It doesn't mean anything if the players there aren't any good.
Well, and I think that's the point. And Oliver makes the point here, and I think it's a valuable point. It feels like barely any good players make it anymore because teams just have enough cap to keep them. The cap has gone up so much recently that teams have the cap space to sign these players, that they don't mind getting into big money deals with players because the cap goes up so much each year that it's not a big deal. And I think that makes a big difference, for players just not being available. And so the Patriots, you look at the list of free agents and you say, oh, this guy and that guy and this guy. Okay, all right, we're going to sign all these guys. And none of them are there because they all went back to their team. And so, you'll have some, but the question is how many of those guys, and Boss GM says 8 of Bleacher Report's top 10 free agents have re-signed, which is not great. Not great.
And that's just the world we live in. Part of that's because the cap is so big. So, the guys can re-sign them. And it's also, to a degree, the way it's always been done. Like, when you think about impact free agents, most of the guys who end up being the impact signings are the second and third tier guys who teams are able to identify, sign, and put in positions to succeed. Those are the ones that are usually the highest impact because there aren't the high level guys. It's the high level guys. It's a quarterback late in his career who is looking for one more run when the team is moving on, or, old vets who are kind of in similar spots of like ring chasing or whatever. And the occasional time, like, if he does hit the market, T. Higgins, it's the types of players who they think they're in one tier and the team thinks they're in a different tier. And we say, we're going to hit the market and see how this plays out. And those guys get paid like they're in tier 1 and they're actually in tier 2. How often does that even end up working out for the team that's paying them? How many years did we sit here as Pats fans and watch other teams sign our team tier 2 guys, pay them like tier 1 and be disappointed when they played like tier 2 guys?
Right.
So, that's the reality of what it is. We'll say at the Mass Live, I keep saying the Herald, Mass Live, that piece did mention the Pats want to go after T. Higgins and Chris Godwin. And if it's not them, they're not really interested in anyone. And it kind of seems like those guys are staying. So, I don't think we're going to really see movement at wide receiver.
Right. And I think that kind of makes sense. I mean, there's no one, but there's not really guys available. And again, am I trading a second round pick for Cooper Kupp? I'm not. If you're going to tell me I can trade a 4th or a 5th round pick for Cooper Kupp, I'll do it. I'm not trading a second round pick and maybe not even a 3rd round pick for Cooper Kupp, to be completely honest with you.
I don't think I'd do a 4. I think that's got to be a 5th, but you consider age and injury and all that,
Right.
and how high the Patriots are picking, 20 spots higher in these rounds than what we've been used to for a long time. These picks are a little bit more valuable.
Absolutely. So, but there
it's
are guys available. Listen, I would be okay with Brandon Cooks again if that's the case, right? If Brandon Cooks is available, and look, I mean, we'll see. But that's, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we actually, while we're doing this, I feel like we should talk a little bit about some of the other intel from this piece too, because they mentioned the Pats want to go after Milton Williams.
Yep.
Josh Sweat has been mentioned. Harold Landry.
Yep.
Ronnie Stanley. Those are some of the names. Also mentions there's a line here that I think is interesting. Talent evaluators aren't as high on the second tier options, such as Cam Robinson and Alaric Jackson. So Cam Robinson's going to get the kind of money that Alaric Jackson just got.
Right.
I don't think the Patriots are going to be in on that because I don't think that's good money. I don't think that's smart team building.
I don't think he's worth it. No. But the hard thing is, here's the hard thing, and I think this is what you have to weigh, is that he may not be worth that money. Matter of fact, I'm pretty confident that Cam Robinson isn't worth that money.
Mm-hmm.
But you have an insane amount of money to spend, and you don't have anyone to spend it on. Now, you can say, well, we're going to do Josh Sweat, and we're going to do Milton Williams, and we're going to do, my guy Nick Bolton, and we're going to do other guy, which, by the way, Trey Smith gets franchise tag. That means almost definitely Nick Bolton will be available in free agency. So I don't ask for much, Patriots. I don't ask for much. Bring me Nick Bolton, for the love of God, please.
Well, and Justin Reed is the other guy there who I think would also be very valuable in New England.
Right. And so I think, but again, okay, Cam Robinson may not be worth it, right? And Boss GM saying, somewhere between 17 and 19 million, even if it's 20 over 3 years. Is he worth that? Probably not. But if he can be, an average starting left tackle, maybe not a great starting left tackle, but a just below above average, right? Where it's like just a tick above average, right? In the average, but at the top of the average. I don't know. Was that worth it for the next few years while you try to figure out your left tackle position and you just stick Cam Robinson there and you say, okay, we're good enough that we can make it into a decent offensive line because we filled that spot, right? We have the money. The money is not an issue. And so, that's the part of it for me is if he can play, then I don't care how much it costs. If he's going to be terrible and we're going to be in the same spot, well, then forget it. But even if he's, we just talked about tier 2 and tier 1 guys, even if he's a tier 2 guy and we're paying him like a tier 1 guy, or even if he's a tier 3 guy and we're paying him like a tier 2 guy, if the tier 3 guy is enough to make it to be competent, then I think it's worth it because you're getting competency at the position.
Well, and that's kind of the balance here. I think this is where people are going to disagree. I'm not sure if Cam Robinson even gets you to that point. So
that's the question.
Yeah, right. And I got to dig deeper into some of the tape on some of these guys. But I've never been that impressed by Cam Robinson. And PFF grade wise, he was exactly the same as Vidarian Lowe for pass blocking this year. Better as a run blocker.
Yep.
So maybe there's value there. And what might be important if they go after someone like him is, okay, do they see traits on film that they think they can mold in their system?
Yep.
Then the other part of that is Cam Robinson is older. And if you have Vidarian Lowe cheap under contract, if you think he has any of the same traits and you think he's moldable, we saw him grow from year 1 to year 2 in New England. He went from being unplayable to swing tackle level good.
Right.
If with better coaching and a different scheme, you think you can get him up to low tier starter, I think you'd rather have that at that contract and spend the other money on Tevin Jenkins to be your left guard, to improve the guard play next to him, to make the left tackle job easier, or go out and sign a Morgan Moses at right tackle and get a veteran option over there, or just instead of spending $20 million on a tackle, spend $20 million on another defensive lineman. Add Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, and Harold Landry all in one offseason. Do something crazy like that and go all in on it.
Right.
You
And
know, you gotta.
that's the other part of it is you got to figure out where we're going to spend the money, and then is it worth it, right? Is how much better than Vidarian Lowe is he?
Mhm.
Because if he's not that much better than Vidarian Lowe, he's not worth the money. It just doesn't matter. Ronnie Stanley
Yeah.
is a huge upgrade for you. So it makes sense to go out and
Mhm.
get Ronnie Stanley. Now, the question is, can he stay healthy? He did last year. He had trouble doing that in years past. So, like, can he stay healthy? We don't know. But you also can't really factor that in. You can't say, well, we're scared about an injury. Like, it is what it is. You play,
Mhm.
So so that's that. Okay.
Yeah. And then
Um,
I just want to add a couple other things in this article
yep.
as we're going through, because I think it's all relevant. And this one we can talk about a little bit when we do the mock, but a little bit of draft intel for the Pats here.
Okay.
Says one, Patriots do not expect Abdul Carter to fall to them.
Yes.
Patriots do think that Travis Hunter is both the best wide receiver prospect and the best cornerback prospect in this draft, which I 100% agree with. I think he is sensational at both.
Yep.
The Patriots think that Will Campbell is a tackle. And there was it was Greg Bedard with a report that Will Campbell's arms had previously measured in at 32 and 7/8 inches. That's what he measures on, I think, Sunday when he measures. It doesn't tell you anything. It's close
Correct.
enough to 33 that that's not going to be the reason alone why he fails. So it doesn't move you off of what the tape is. And if you watch the tape and you think he projects as a tackle to the league, then I think I'm not 100% sure I agree, but I can't tell you you're wrong. I think there's enough evidence to make a good argument there. So the Pats think he's a tackle, and I think what you kind of see here is a two-tiered approach for the Pats, where if Carter or Hunter falls, that's who they're taking. And if not, it's going to be the debate between Graham and Campbell for them, probably depending on how free agency goes and which position they're going to have to go to. And then it says if they trade back, they really like Tyler Warren as well. So they said Tyler Warren is an incredibly safe pick. I don't know if I agree with that at all. I don't know if any tight end is really a safe pick. First of all, the position's so risky, and I don't think I have Tyler Warren as my tight end one. I think I've got Colston Loveland ahead of him anyway. So
yeah, it's just because you're a Michigan guy, though. So,
maybe a little biased there. We'll see.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's get into this mock. I guess we should touch on the fact that the Patriots did say to Devon Godshaw, that he can explore other trade options. And so, they might be without Devon Godshaw. I don't think he's a good player, but he's getting old. And I understand why he wants to leave and why they would let him go. And if you can get something back for him, then do it.
Yeah, well, and they're talking about probably late day 3 pick in return, which is fine. Not a scheme fit for the way Mike Vrabel likes to play defense. We've lived in the two-gapping Belichick world for so long, where the most important thing for defense is kind of making sure every gap is accounted for, playing a very safe, very structured type of defense. That's not what we're going to see. What they want are penetrators. They want penetrators at every spot on the defensive line to create plays. That's not Godshaw. Scheme-wise, it's not a fit. I also think it's notable that we heard last year that when captains got hurt, non-captains were the ones in the locker room that were becoming leaders. And we also heard a lot of comments from Devon Godshaw all year long to the press. He was very free with his comments and his criticisms at points. I don't know how they felt about him internally, culture-wise, but the fact that they're letting him, go elsewhere, it appears, definitely wonder if this is the first move in establishing a new culture here in the building.
Right. I agree. By the way, just one quick thing here. The guy's talking about this is directed at Travis Hunter. We know Carter won't fall to 4. That's the difference between him and Hunter, is what he's saying. I wholeheartedly disagree. I actually think Travis Hunter is going to go number 1 because I think he's that good of a player. I actually think that Carter has a better chance of dropping to number 4, especially after the injury news. I don't know how that injury is going to impact him, how it will impact his draft stock. We don't know. But Travis Hunter is that good. I think what people are scared of is the fact that they worry about whether he is actually a wide receiver or a cornerback and what he's going to want to do. And I think that teams get scared off by that stuff. But I tell you right now, I do think he'll be an instant impact player at both cornerback and wide receiver.
Travis Hunter is my number one player in this draft. I think he has a better chance of falling, though. There's been a lot of rumors about Tennessee really liking Abdul Carter specifically. Like, I think Tennessee has Carter over Hunter. And then the other two picks in there right now are kind of looking like quarterback picks. This will segue us nicely into this mock when we do it. But you look at the board like that. You see what the Browns posted today? Like they're posting pictures of quarterbacks on the social media. And
True.
Adam Schefter was on a podcast with Pardon My Take where he said that he thinks that kind of no matter what, the Browns are just taking a quarterback. They feel like they're not going to be this high in the draft again, and they want to get a quarterback on a rookie contract. So it kind of sounds like they're comfortable with Cam or Shedeur. The Titans probably want Abdul Carter. So a lot comes down to the order and what the Giants want to end up doing.
Yeah.
Because the Giants need a quarterback at some point.
True. It's true. And Oliver points out that Christian Gonzalez fell all the way to 17 in 2023. So anything can happen.
Yeah.
Literally.
Do you want to do your ad read and then we'll do
ad read first and then we'll do the mock? Yep, that's right. All right, this ad read, of course, is for Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Now, it's the best way to get real money action. Again, it's available in 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and obviously Massachusetts. All right. Now, today's Friday. Get in on the Friday Flex Play. That's it. Get in on the Friday Flex Play. Up to $20. Up to $20 in the Friday Flex Play. If you play it and you hit, you get your money. If you play it and you don't, you get your money back. So Friday Flex, get in on it. Now, they always put the members first, and so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. So, listen, here's what's going to happen. Do you think Steph Curry is going to hit more than 5 3-pointers next week? You think Giannis is going to go for 135 points? You know, Joel Embiid's not scoring because he's now done for the season. You can even have combine numbers on there. If you want to say, oh, this guy's going to run this guy's going to run that. You can also use that in your lineup as well. So what you're going to do, download the Prize Picks app, put in the promo code CLNS, and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't have to win. You just have to play. So again, download the Prize Picks app, put in the promo code CLNS, and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. So here we go. Let's get into this. Let's get into this mock draft. We're going to go 7-round mock draft. Of course, Patriots starting out at number 4. We're doing this on PFF. And so, here we are. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So we're going to do PFF 1-7. We'll keep it on the turbo speed, I think, for this to get through.
I think so, yeah.
How do we want to set these sliders? We just want to leave the defaults?
Yeah, I would say leave it for. Yeah, I'd just say leave for default. That's fine.
Okay.
That makes sense.
All right. Pat's the number 4 pick. We'll see who's on the board. All right. This mock has Cam Ward to the Titans, Travis Hunter to the Browns, and Shedeur Sanders to the Giants. I think that makes this pick very easy.
Sure does. Abdul Carter number.
McMillan. No.
Yeah, right. It's got to be Abdul Carter.
Yeah, Abdul Carter at pick 4. That's very easy on this one. All right, pick 38. Oh my goodness.
You know what? We should have looked at the trades just out of curiosity, but that's okay.
Fair. Man, I know who I want with this.
What the hell is Jalen Walker still doing on the board?
Yeah, that might be
one. Tyreek Williams? What the hell's happening?
And this is Jack Besh being taken already.
Come on, son. What are we doing here?
This is a weird board, man. Oh, we got. See, here's the thing. It's weird, but this feels like how I think it's going to be a very strange year for the draft. This has Michael Williams falling all the way to 29. Gray Zabel going in the first.
That's wild.
Jack Besh going at 36. So Connerly at 37. This is a weird draft. PFF says the top 5 players available at pick 38. linebacker Jalen Walker, wide receiver Alec Iamanor. I don't know how to say that name, to be honest. Defensive lineman Tyleek Williams, safety Xavier Watts, and edge defender Landon Jackson. And then the next three best players on the board here, according to them, are also all defensive linemen.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, Arante Ursary still on the board. He's down at 56 for
I was gonna say, let's flip over. Can we flip over to the tackles? Just see who's available at tackle. Just because, Ursary, Jackson,
Donovan Jackson, I think, is a guard. Cam Williams,
Ozzy.
him.
Yeah, it's not way too early for Ozzy.
Milam is a guard. Savania is a guard.
And I think Trapillo probably could be a tackle, but he may move into guard. Embo, or I think it's Embo from Purdue, is most likely going to play guard as well. So you're looking at, even though you're in the tackle spot, you're looking at a lot of guards here.
But Ursary, he's a tackle?
100% a tackle.
Profile here.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He played left tackle the last 3 years. He's older. He's a good run blocker. He's not like he's an older player who still is not the most polished, not the most athletic. So he's a second rounder for a reason. He might not end up being an elite left tackle, but he has the capability to be a quality starter at left tackle. And he hasn't played really on the right side, but I think you could also move him to right tackle. I think his skill set would fit there if you needed to move guys around.
Theoretically. Theoretically. And I do think too, against Penn State, he had a pretty good game against Penn State. Penn State's got some decent edge rushers, as we witnessed in the first round.
I would take Ursary here, I think.
I think Ursary makes the most sense. I do think Jalen Walker is a guy that I find very intriguing, especially since I had the Patriots taking him at number 8 in my last mock draft.
It is. That's a talent that is hard to pass up on. I will tell you that much.
And I don't know. I almost feel like we should take him. That's just so insane. Think about how insane our defense is, and then maybe you come back and try to get an Ozzy Trapillo or something like that in the in the third round somewhere. And Trapillo may not, obviously isn't the guy that Ursary is, but they seem to like him a lot. But listen, if you feel strong about the Ursary pick, I'm cool with it.
I don't think Jalen Walker is going to fall this far, but I think in the name of realism, we should probably.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
So Ursary at 30. Well, we can look at the trade options if we want to trade down. Next would be the Bengals. That's still 11 spots back. I don't know if I'd want to move that far back.
Yeah, no.
I think I would just take.
Are they offering anything, or is it just? I forget how they do it.
It just tells you who's interested in moving.
Who's interested in moving up? Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, what if we propose this pick for their pick and a second rounder next year? Do you think that would be it?
It says it would not be accepted.
All right, so forget it.
Yeah,
because I'm not taking if they're going to overpay or something like that, then that's fine. But I'm not doing that unless they overpay for it.
Ursary at 38.
Let's do it.
Pats are next on the clock at 69.
Nice.
The five guys taken before that pick, you got Caleb Johnson, Sebastian Castro, Jordan Birch, Dylan Gabriel to the Browns. That's an interesting. Some mock, I believe. Actually, I think that's the first quarterback the Browns took because it has him going with Travis Hunter earlier. Interesting. And then Jaden Higgins to the Raiders pick before this, which is I'm a big fan of his.
Love Jaden Higgins.
Yeah. So the top 5 on the board, according to PFF, Josh Farmer, defensive lineman from Florida State, Trevion Henderson, the halfback from Ohio State, Cam Williams, the tackle from Texas, Ozzy Trapillo, the tackle from Boston College, and Quinshawn Judkins, the running back from Ohio State. So both of those Ohio State running backs on the board here, which when you look at the Mike Vrabel connection, I think is very interesting.
I do too. Yeah, and Trevion Henderson. Henderson's a guy that, he's not Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Mm-hmm. But he has the speed of a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. You get him in the open field, and he is electric with the ball in his hands. And so from that perspective, if you're looking for a guy like that, he's an interesting case, man. And in the third round, like,
I don't
I don't
hate
know,
it.
you don't get athletes like that in the third round, I don't think.
So what I will say is this, because the Pats have 2 picks here, quick succession. You get 69 and 77.
Right.
I like both running backs here, and I do
Yep.
wonder if you say we're going to pass and see if one of them is still there at 77 and try to get them then.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I do think. Can
but-
you go to the wide receivers really quick? Because I saw a wide receiver that I like a little bit down the list. I'm curious what the wide receivers look like. And he's the first one on the board. Of course, Jalen Royals. I'm a big Jalen Royals fan. I don't know how you feel about Jalen Royals, but I'm a big Jalen Royals fan. Tez Johnson is small, but fast as heck.
Small is an
Savion,
understatement. He's like 10 pounds smaller than Tank Dell.
he's really small. Trey Harris is an interesting name. Now he's going to be later on, of course. Isaiah Bond, potentially, if people like him.
I'm not an Isaiah Bond fan.
Okay,
He's
well, there
fast.
you
He
go.
doesn't know how to use it.
Well, there you go. That settles that
Yeah.
debate.
It's but
No, go ahead.
what's interesting is in this group, the top 5 receivers, Jalen Royal, Savion Williams, who's kind of a little bit in the Cordero Patterson mold out of TCU, Isaiah Bond, Tez Johnson, Trey Harris. Jalen Noel, who's the next one up, might be the one I like the most out of this group. He's kind of a speed slot guy who worked with Jaden Higgins. I liked him. Torrey Horton is interesting. Torrey Horton, I think, is probably already maxed out. He's a lot like, I don't know, Jacoby Myers, or a little bit of like Mohamed Sanu in that he's like a big slot with that kind of body. What I find is like one of the names I like is Ricky White, who's 206 on their board. I don't think he goes that low. This is too high for him, but I like Ricky White.
Yeah,
and like this is an area where I'd love to target Jack Besh, but he's off the board before your second pick.
but he's already gone.
This scenario.
Let's look at tight end.
Yeah, there was a tight end on the list that I'm a fan of here, and it's the first one, Gunnar Helm.
Elijah Arroyo too. I like.
Mason
wait
Taylor.
a second. This is the guy I was looking for. So Fannin, I think, is a guy. I'm a big fan of Harold Fannin Jr. If we wanted to go, and by the way, Oliver was saying Gunnar Helm as well. We could go with Gunnar Helm if you want. I was thinking if we went Henderson, we could go Fannin at 77. But go ahead.
I'm not a Fannin guy. I just don't see it. I think he's. I'm just worried he may have already maxed out what his athleticism can do. Like I think he's a good player. I don't think he'll be a bad player in the NFL. I just don't think he has tight end 1 potential. Yeah,
That's
I think
fair.
He's. I don't know, maybe like a Johnny Smith more. Like I think he's a high quality tight end 2. I think Helm, Arroyo, and Taylor, particularly Helm and Taylor, are guys who I think have tight end 1 upside, and I think I'd rather bet on that. But yeah, we're in a spot where like I like the depth at tight end. Even Terrence Ferguson is a guy I like. In theory, I'm okay with any of those.
Yeah, I think it's too early to take a tight end. I was just curious about who's there. So what if we looked at, because Brandon's right. Brandon says that the smart and responsible thing to do, I'll just throw him up here because we just should. Smart and responsible thing to do is to have a defensive heavy draft. That's where the talent is. They're likely to have a high pick again next year. It'll be much better offensive draft. Now, I don't necessarily disagree that they're going to have a high pick next year, but I do agree with the fact that like it will theoretically be a better offensive draft next year. So I wonder, do we go defensive or, to me, you either go defensive or even you go offensive line again.
Because what I was going to suggest right here, because I like the depth at wide receiver, running back, and tight end at this point.
Yep.
The fact that you have Cam Williams, who has a kind of a high upside right tackle guy, Trapillo, Wyatt Milam, who I like at left guard here, who'd be a valuable pick, and Savania, who would also probably play guard. The fact that you have all of those guys on the board means I think you have a good opportunity to double dip on the offensive line with quality prospects. And if Ursery's your left tackle, you can add someone here who's going to play guard or right tackle and complement that.
That's
Or
fair.
the name that we haven't mentioned here, it's Chris Paul Jr. here, but I believe he clarified that he goes by the nickname Pooh. So it's Pooh Paul.
Pooh
Sorry.
Paul. Oh Lord.
Yeah.
What a name, dude. I might
I
have to
know.
draft him just for that.
And when you look at what they got here, 235. I don't know what he measured in at the combine, but on PFF, he's 235-pound linebacker. PFF grade 87.2 this past year. High-level coverage grade, high-level pass rush grade. This prototype of linebacker is kind of what we need in this scheme. So I'm also not against taking him at this point and then seeing where we are and who's on the board at 77. I think we might even, there's depth at offensive line, I think, at 77.
Here's what I'll tell you about Chris Paul Jr. at the combine. 6 feet, 0.7, 222 with 29.875 arms.
So they're a little bit small on the arms.
And ran a 4.63 40, which isn't bad. Decent vertical, but like 7.18 RAS. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but that's
man, being like 10 pounds under his listed weight, over 10 pounds under his listed weight, and still not running in the 4.5s.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't
ideal.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can get that guy. So I would go offensive line here, I think, and then see what's left when you're at 77. So your options for that, you've got Cam Williams, who's been is a young player, in his first year as a starter at full-time starter at right tackle this past season. It's a little bit underwhelming for what Texas was expecting. He wasn't as good as people thought. But he's still a young developmental guy at tackle who has high upside. He's athletic. Trapillo, who we talked about a little bit, who also has played right tackle the last 2 seasons. He is older, 5-year, I believe, college guy. And then the other two, Wyatt Milam, 3-year starter at left tackle, good player. I like his tape. I actually thought he matched up well at points with Abdul Carter too. Just somebody who's going to end up kicking inside. He's an older guy in Savania who is a junior who has played multiple. He's split time between left and right. Has played right guard. So I would go between one of those four. And between those four, it's just kind of pick your flavor. And while you think about that, I can answer a question here.
Do it. Yeah, sure.
Brandon asked, do you think Connerly or Simmons could slip to the second round? I think they have potential to be good starting left tackles. Connerly feels like someone that goes between 20 and 35. He might slip to the second. I don't think it's slipped very far into the second.
Yeah.
Simmons is the type of guy who could go as high as top 15 and as low as like second half of the second round. There's just medical red flags with him, with the patella. So it's going to be based on when teams think he can contribute. And he also has kind of limited tape because he missed so much of this season. I will say, I think if either of them on the board when the Chiefs pick, I think the Chiefs are going to take them because they.
You would assume. Yeah, you would assume.
Yeah, and Boss James is the same thing. I don't think the Chiefs let Connerly get past them. I agree there. Simmons is just entirely medicals. He might be the best pass blocking left tackle in this draft. Who knows what it looks like on the other side of this rehab or when he'll be able to contribute. So he's the kind of guy who, might be gone in the first half of the first round if some team feels really, really good about him. He's the kind of team that Pats might pass on twice and you're never going to regret it. So yeah. That's there's no floor on him.
All right. I think I've made up my mind. Let's go Cameron Williams. I think that he gives you the upside, and because you get the upside from him, I think that matters more.
Mm-hmm.
To have the upside at right tackle. And so Henderson is there if we want him, which is cool. That was the pick that I was thinking. I was thinking about anyways.
Well, we'll do the Patriot at 69 with Cam Williams, Farmer, Judkins, Trapillo, Pupal, Wyatt Milam, Savania, and Jalen Royals all went off the board in that gap. All players we talked about. So 77. Trevion Henderson's here. Gunnar Helm is here. I think those are the two that stand out to me at this point.
Oh, wait a second now. Look at the last name on the list right there. Maxwell Hairston ran a 4.29 today. Dude's got some
Fast.
size. He's fast as all get out.
He's
I'm a
tall,
Maxwell
but
Hairston fan.
he's thin.
He is very thin, although I think he weighed in. I think he actually weighed in okay. Now, I mean, the hard thing is that the weigh-in doesn't necessarily always matter, right? Because sometimes, they drink a little bit of water or they do whatever. I don't know where. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Actually, the RAS hasn't been posted yet. Sometimes Kent gets to it and sometimes he doesn't. But again, 4.29. He's got. Here we go. Right here.
GM says 4.28.
4.29 unofficial, but that's okay. Either way, it doesn't matter. 4.28, 4.29. He weighed in at 5'11", 183. So 183 is not great, but
5'11". That's 2 inches shorter than he was listed.
Yeah. So, but yeah, 5'11", 183. So
I'm not
31
opposed.
inch arm length.
I like Trevion Henderson here a lot.
Yeah.
I think with who's on the board, this has got to be Henderson or Helm for me. I think Henderson is a big play running back who fits really nicely, like with who they already have in the room. Gunnar Helm to me is someone who I really like. If your 3 tight ends were Henry, I really just Henry, Hooper, and Helm, the 3 H's there.
Okay.
I think Helm could learn a lot from those 2 veterans, and I think he'd be in a really good spot to succeed long term.
I like that. I also think that Henderson is a guy that could, with his speed, change how they play offensively.
Fair. I like both. If there was a way to get both, I would take both.
Yeah, and so I think there is. Well, I mean, there isn't a way to get both, but I think that the Henderson one makes sense. What's the trade?
You have to move back to 90. Both players are going to be gone at that point.
Yeah, no thanks. All right, so do you want to just check defense really quick just to see what's there? Maybe just
I could scroll down here. I mean, it's Jordan Phillips, the defensive lineman from Maryland, Elijah Roberts, the edge defender from SMU, Kevin Winston, the safety from Penn State, Maxwell Harrison, like you said, Ransom, the safety from Ohio State. Nick Amonwori, the safety from South Carolina, is still here. He's blowing up the combine like as we speak, I believe. I do not think he's actually going to
destroying the combine.
Yeah, no chance that he is here on draft night.
Yeah, so here's the 6'3" and 1/8", 220, 43-inch vertical, 11-foot 6-inch broad jump, and a 4.4 40, and I believe he actually ran a 4.39 after that.
Incredible.
Which is just completely insane.
Trey Harris is still on the board here. I'm going to wait on receiver, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We can take Henderson if you have a strong preference here towards him.
I think so. I think we take Henderson and then we see, what's there.
Okay. That 77 is Trevion Henderson. To recap here, is we're done with the first 2 days of the draft. It's Abdul Carter, Arante Ursary, Cam Williams, and Trevion Henderson. Edge defender, 2 tackles, and a running back going all in on line of scrimmage, running game here. Oh boy. 105. Top 5 on the board. Jalen Milrose here. Andrew Makuva, safety from Texas, who I'm a huge fan of. RJ Harvey, the back from UCF. Will Howard, quarterback from Ohio State, and Ashton Gallant, the edge defender from Louisville. See if there's any really popular, notable names as we scroll down. JJ Pegues, the defensive lineman / fullback, is here. Terrence Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon. I actually like him quite a bit.
Yep.
Jalen Noel is still here somehow. Torrey Horton, when you were still on the board. I lean Makuba here big time because I love what he can bring. He just ran a 40 in the 4.4s, I believe, too.
Yeah. I like it. I like going in the secondary. I wanted a corner at some point as well, but there's no corners that are going to give you what what he gives you. And I think that it makes sense to make a move here. So I'm cool with that. We haven't made any trades, but that's not the end of the world. I'm not worried about the fact that we haven't made any trades.
Just scrolling back here to see where some of the other guys we talked about went. Helm goes to the Seahawks at 82. They've got Williams to the Bengals. That would be an interesting fit.
Mhm.
Mason Taylor to the Chargers. I like that fit for them. Oh, Maxwell Harrison to the Eagles. There you go.
Another guy for them. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like a fast free safety playmaker.
Yep. Then we need a free safety badly. So let's do it.
Yeah. So that's 105 is Andrew Makuba. Got a big gap here, 40 pick gap. Pass back on the board at 145. Guys on the board: Quinn Ewers, Mitchell Evans, the Notre Dame tight end, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the halfback from Arizona. That name is a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin Urasek, the tight end from Georgia. He also played at Stanford. And Jarquez Hunter, the halfback from Auburn. Other notable names: Khalil Mullings from Michigan. Kyle Williams, the wide receiver from Washington State. Some people really like him. Seth McLaughlin, who is the Ohio State center, is here. Yep. Nick Nash, the Triple Crown wide receiver from San Jose State, creeping up the board. Cody Simon, the linebacker from Ohio State, is here. I like him a lot. Yeah. I actually would almost lean to that right here.
Yeah, I like that too. Can we check D tackle just out of curiosity? Just check,
Yeah, not a lot of Cam Jackson's here, and I like him. Ty Robinson, who you've taken in your mocks before. Yeah. Not a lot of talent otherwise, I don't think.
No. I actually think Ty Robinson, we have this is the 5th, but we don't have another pick till the 7th. That's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking I traded back and I had 2 5ths, and so that's why I was like, I think Ty Robinson I took with my 2nd 5th.
And there's no trade on the board here. It's
I think that makes the most sense. You get another linebacker, you draft another guy on defense, and you add to your front 7. I think that makes a lot of sense to go Cody Simon here. And he won MVP of the
defensive MVP
of the national championship game, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, now we're down to 219. Let's see where. Is there anyone else we talked about? Oh, Ricky White was still on the board. He goes to the Broncos here. Okay. I wouldn't be upset if you go Ricky White in that spot either.
Yeah.
Anybody else that really catches my eye here as I scroll back?
Okay.
Oh, I just got to shout him out because I somehow missed this name until today. The Rutgers is a corner named Robert Longerbeam. That is fantastic.
That is a great name. That's worthy of a day 3 pick just for that alone.
I call him Bob. Bob Longerbeam.
I like that.
Or Bobby Longerbeam.
Bobby Longerbeam.
So I was talking with JP Acosta on Twitter earlier. I said it sounds like a cartoon name, Bob Longerbeam. He said, which name sounds most like a cartoon character? Robert Longerbeam, Bob Longerbeam, or Bobby Longerbeam? I don't know if you have an opinion here.
Probably Bobby.
I said Bobby Longerbeam sounds like a character on King of the Hill.
Yeah, it kind of does. You're right.
Yep. And then Robert Longerbeam sounds like a character from Archer to me.
Right. Something like that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. All right. Getting off the Longerbeam talk, Pats have 2 picks at 4 spots here. They got 219 and 222. So we're probably getting 2 from the same crop here.
You would think.
Names. There's a couple quarterbacks near the top here. I don't know if we need to talk about them here.
We do not.
Jimmy Horn and Will Shepard, a pair of receivers from Colorado, are on the board at this point, and LeJohntay Wester. So 3 receivers from Colorado, all on the board at this spot here. Malachi Moore, the Alabama safety. Tim McKay, the NC State guard. Dylan Fairchild, another one. Name interesting. This is a guy, Smail Mondon Jr., linebacker from Georgia. He has kind of moved up the boards lately. He is someone who I have not actually watched his tape. Every time that I watch Georgia's defense on tape to watch Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, Malachi Starks, any of those guys, I just keep seeing him around the ball. He's one of the guys you watch tapes like, I gotta look up this guy's number. Like, who is this? I don't think we did another one since we just went linebacker with Cody Simon, but I do like Smell Mondin. Theo Weiss is here. I don't think they're going to be interested in Kyron Lacey, who's on the board at this point. Man, Jabbar Muhammad is off the board. I would not be upset. I took Jabbar Muhammad in the 7th in a mock last year, when it looked like he might declare last year. I like him.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Jabbar Muhammad's around. And, in the 7th round, this is when you take guys that when you take guys like that.
I think we have our 2 picks here.
Who's the second one?
Mr. Bryson Nesbitt, the North Carolina tight end.
Ooh, okay.
We have
Or
a
could we
corner
wait
and then
on the third one? I'm a big Ty Robinson fan, you know this, but I'm okay with those 2. That's
we
fine.
I forgot we have 240 still as well.
We have 240 as well. So do you want to maybe save Nesbitt?
Yeah, I think we can make that our last pick. I'm just going through all of this and seeing.
Yeah.
But we could also grab a kicker if we wanted, but I don't think we should do
We're
that.
not doing that.
No.
I vetoed that idea.
All right. So you want Ty Robinson here?
I do like Ty Robinson a lot. For those that haven't read my mock or my latest mock, I have Ty Robinson on it. I just think that he's a guy that's good against the run and the pass. He's a little bit of an older prospect. Doesn't have a ton of upside, I would say, but he's just a solid defensive tackle, and he can actually play a little bit of the edge as well. So, I'm a fan.
This is another name I think is interesting if we wanted to keep going on the line. Dylan Fairchild, play left guard for Georgia, big dude. Left guard is a position of need.
That's definitely true. It'd be our third offensive lineman, but I don't think with the way the offensive line has played and the lack of quality depth on the offensive line for the Patriots right now, it's not a terrible idea. I do think that they'll bring in some guys to have some depth there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we need another offensive lineman.
But I think they're going to attack offensive and defensive lines both in free agency. So I think, either way here, Robinson, Fairchild are going to be competing for jobs here.
True, very true. So if you can go Fairchild if you want, I've done Ty Robinson.
We've done Ty Robinson in your mock before.
That's true. Let's do Fairchild then. Let's do it.
Name something different, and then let's see 222. We want to go down to Jabbar Muhammad here.
Yes, let's do it. I think that makes a ton of sense.
I like it a lot. I don't know why.
More corners.
And then last pick here at 240. Yes, Mel Mondin was the only guy I'd consider here, other than I think Nesbitt. If we want to do that,
But I think Nesbitt is the pick because he's a guy that played with your quarterback. You need another developmental tight end. Hunter Henry's great. He's getting old. Austin Hooper's not young. And so I think it makes sense to bring in another tight end that, and listen, you drafted a tight end last year in the 7th round, but is he really a tight end? I know they need a fullback. Is he a fullback? He's not really a fullback either, but he's like a wing back. He's more of a gadget guy than he is a true tight end, which is, by the way, is why he was available in the 7th round to begin with. No one could figure out what the heck type of player he was. So, I think it makes sense to go with a true tight end in Nesbitt here.
The only other thing I'm going to mention is this. I believe it was Catch 22. They were talking about asking. They made a point of asking all the SEC defensive linemen which offensive lineman was the toughest guy to go against.
Yeah,
just to see which guys they talked about. A lot of Will Campbell in that, as expected. One name that was thrown in there was Cooper Mays, who's on the board here, the center from Tennessee. Doesn't necessarily have the highest PFF grades or anything. He is a true center, only played center. That's the only other one I think I'd throw out here just because there's so much uncertainty at the position. I do think Bryson Nesbitt is a more fun pick, and I'm down for that.
Nesbitt's definitely a more fun pick. I do like the idea of taking Cooper May, but to have taken 4 offensive linemen in the same draft, although with the horrendousness of the offensive line last year, maybe it's justifiable. But I do think that
I think every pick in this mock could be an offensive lineman, and that would be justifiable.
That's a fair point. Yeah, let's go Nesbitt. What the heck, dude? Let's have some fun.
Yeah, we'll have some fun with it. Maybe Cooper Mays is there as an undrafted free agent.
Yes, that's correct. I like it.
Waiting for
All right, they're
the
grading our draft. Let's see what it gets graded at. Oh, the Ursary pick they don't like.
No, it was a bit of a reach. That and the Cody Simon pick, I think, were big reaches. But we still got a B+.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So
Let's
just to,
forward. Let's see if I'm going to see if what do you call it? If Cooper Mays ended up becoming an undrafted free agent.
ooh, let's see. That's a good thing to check out, I think. Cooper Mays, not there.
seeing him. All
Love
right.
it.
So
Patriots
pretend
signed
in this
Cooper Mays as
situation
an
like
undrafted
we
free
also
agent.
signed him. Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. So, all right. So here's our picks. Round 1, pick 4, we have Abdul Carter. Round 2, Ariandre Ursary. Round 3, we went with another tackle, Cameron Williams from Texas. Round 3, pick 77, Travion Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State. Round 4, pick 105, Andrew Makuba, the safety from Texas. Round 5, pick 145, Cody Simon, the linebacker from Ohio State. 2 Ohio State guys, which I think makes sense because you have Mike Vrabel, an Ohio State guy.
Mm-hmm.
Round 7, pick 219, Dylan Fairchild, the guard from Georgia. Round 7, pick 222, Jabbar Muhammad, the cornerback from Oregon. And our last pick at 240, Bryson Nesbitt, tight end from UNC. It's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good. There's some, and Boss GM says he loves the draft. He said he thinks the best pick was Cam Williams and the biggest reach was Cody Simon. I think you might be right about the reach on Cody Simon. I think, though, where you're going into the hard thing is you're in the 5th round and you have, 70 picks between, 75 picks between your 2 picks there. And I know the Patriots typically have talked about they don't love having a big gap like that. So I think there's a chance that they could trade down somewhere and pick up, a 6th round pick or a late 5th round pick somewhere along the line. But, to me, it's like, well, what's there? What do we like that's there? And who's the type of player we can mold in that spot? I think Simon made some sense there. And again, you're just trying to build good players in the front 7. So I think there's some upside for Cody Simon. But I'm happy with the draft.
A couple notes here. Just I pulled up the mock draft database consensus board, and so PFF has Ursary at 56 overall, but the consensus has him at 42. So not really a reach.
Not as big of a reach
at all.
Yeah.
And Cam Williams, it has at like 48. So that is a steal getting him where we did in this.
Yes.
And then Cody Simon, it has at 153. We got him at 145. So I think these are guys who PFF just their board just happens to be lower on than some of the others now.
Where's Muhammad on that list? Because I feel like he's not as low as 222. Well, I might be wrong about that, but I feel like he's not as low as 222. Yeah. So
well, he's 271 for PFF. He's 208 for this one. Let's see what Nesbitt is. Nesbitt's 334, so that's a little bit more of a reach, but that's pick 240. So
and that's the thing is like at the end of the draft there, you're just trying to get a guy that you believe in. He's going to be an undrafted free agent. That late in the draft, it's like this guy's an undrafted free agent. Who do we like the best out of this group? Let's take Nesbitt. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things.
And Fairchild at 132 by consensus, 233 according to PFF. So he's a guy who, where he's going to be available, no one's quite sure. And then Makuba's 92 by consensus, 103. So a couple picks in here that would be qualified as steals by some boards, some are reaches by some boards.
Right.
As we get closer to draft,
which makes sense. And of course, these boards are not updated based on the combine. They're not updated based on the rumors that have been coming out lately. And so that obviously changes things as well. So there's a chance a guy like Cam Williams won't even be available at pick 69. And so, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. But before we go, we talked about Nick Amanwari, who's blowing up the combine right now. Kent Lee put him in. He's a 10.00 at strong safety. He'd hit a 10.00 at free safety and cornerback as well. He would also hit a 10.00 at wide receiver, but he would actually be number 2 behind Calvin Johnson. And he hits a 9.87 at linebacker. This guy, man, he's built. He's built like in a lab. It's insane. The athletic ability out of him is completely ridiculous. Agility testing, I don't believe he did, but everything else is just absolutely off the charts, insane. And so yeah, a guy that is gonna fly up the draft boards.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, is that it for this app?
That is it. That is it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys early next week. I'm sure we'll have some final reactions from the combine. And listen, this is this time, right? Next week is that kind of last week, right? Starts on the 10th. So we get 10 days until the legal tampering period starts. But this next week coming up too is a big one where guys get moved, or we're trying to re-sign guys and this guy won't re-sign, and so we'll start hearing some news about some guys being available. So we're almost there. We're almost there. The combine is hit already. It feels like the Super Bowl just ended, but we're already back into it. So
And
so anyways,
it's gonna go fast. And it's we'll see how these mocks look in 12 days when we have an idea what veterans are being added to the roster. That'll simplify things a little bit.
Yep. 2 weeks from today, who knows what the mock draft is going to look like, because they might be short up at other positions. So we'll see. Yeah. But anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Be good to each other and go Pats.